This is Justin Ruiz for CSC300 assignment 4. So first, this program will initialize the scanner and it will prompt the user for the number of rows and columns that the 2D array will have. Then it'll initialize the scanner input variables, grab from the scanner, and this will be the initial size n by n of the 2D array. Then it'll create the 2D array using the grab variables, and the fill array method will fill the 2D array with random numbers from 0 to 255 using a short for loop. And then it will return the array, and the program here will set the array to the filled array. Next, in the do while loop, this will go through one time first, and it will continue until the user inputs the exit code, which I have marked as 4. So first it will display the array using the print array method, which is just a simple method that goes through the 2D array and prints out the decimals or the integers in order. Then the program will prompt the user how they would like to rotate the image. So the user will choose a number from 1 to 3 or 4 to exit the program. 1 being 90-degree rotation, 2 being 180 degrees rotation, and 3 being 270 degrees rotation. The program will then grab this input and set it into the rotations variable. So if rotations is less than 4, meaning that the user inputted 1, 2, or 3, this will run right here, which basically rotates the array. And so for the first part, it will use an extra array to do so. So in the first method here, we use an extra 2D array to copy over from the original array that was sent over and rotate it, and then send back the rotated image back to the main program. So it does this by using the index number, which I've made size -1, and this is required to avoid an out of bounds since the array indexes start at 0, but the array size values are quote-unquote actual values of the size of the array. This just creates the new 2D array, and this first for loop here is just to populate the copy array with the contents of the original array. Next, this nested for loop here will do the actual rotation of the 2D array. So first of all, in the first for loop here for the parameters, this checks for the index number over 2, since when we work with the rotation of the 2D array, we are actually working with 2 rows and 2 columns at the same time. So that's the outer layer of the array. And then we go in by 1 layer each time that the for loop is iterated. So this means that the total number of times that we'll need to do this is the total number length of either the row or the column, since it's a square matrix, divided by 2. J is set to I in the second for loop. This is because we will be running depending on the index number minus I, which means which row column that is set that we are in, starting from the outermost index, like I said previously. So now for the actual 90-degree rotation. So a 90-degree rotation clockwise will move 4 numbers. It'll move 2 from a row to a column and 2 from a column to a row. So the first line here will move the number from the original array's top row into the copy array's last column. And so same thing with this one, except this will move the number from the last column to the bottom row. This one will move the number from the bottom row to the first column, and this will move the number from the first column to the top row, thus completing one set of 4 number rotations in the outermost layer, or however most layer that we are in, depending on the how far we are into the for loop. Once that's completed, because it'll run the index over 2 number of times. So once it reaches index number over 2, that means we're at the center. And once that's done, it'll return the copy of the new rotated array, and it will set it to aforementioned array that we will use here in the main program. And so if the user inputs a 1, this for loop will only happen one time. completing 190-degree rotation. If the user inputs 2, it will be 180 degrees, which is two denominations of the 90-degree rotation, therefore making a 180-degree rotation, because it'll call this method twice. 3, same thing, 270, it's just 3 90-degree rotations. Now for the second method that will not use an extra 2D array to perform a rotation, it's the same principle as the first one, except instead of creating a new 2D array, we simply create 4 integers per loop that we will that the code will quote unquote memorize, and then it will do the rotation, and then it will forget it after every iteration of this for loop here. This right here is equivalent to this. So num1 is equivalent to that point in the array, num2 equivalent to the second point in the array, num3, and so on and so forth. And this right here is basically the same block of code, except with the integer variables instead of the actual array values from the copied 2D array. And once again, it will return the rotated array, and it will happen in this for loop depending on whether the user chooses 1, 2, or 3. When the user chooses 4, it will exit out of the array because this while condition will be false. Now I will perform some tests just to show that the program works. First, using the first method mentioned that uses a copied array. As you can see here, I rotated the image 360 degrees, starting with 193 and ending with 3, starting with 193, ending with 3. Now I'll perform a test using the second method that does not use an extra 2D array. So I rotated it 90 degrees 4 times, making it 360 degree, starting with 159 and ending with 47, starting with 159, ending with 47. And I will choose 4 to exit the program.